Hey there, listeners. Welcome to Hines on Air, your weekly dose of inspiration, motivation, and real-life entrepreneurial stories. I'm Matt Hines, your host, and I'm excited to have you join me on this journey. From building a successful law firm to venturing into other industries like real estate and social media, I've experienced both the triumphs and the challenges that come with entrepreneurship. I've learned firsthand the importance of resilience, adaptability, and a relentless pursuit of excellence. On Hines on Air, we're diving deep into the world of business, law, and personal growth. Join me as I chat with incredible guests who have faced adversity, defied expectations, and achieved extraordinary success. We'll discuss their strategies, their mindset, and the lessons they've learned along the way. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned business owner, or simply someone looking for a little inspiration, Hines on Air is for you. Remember to subscribe, like, and leave a review whenever you listen to podcasts. Your support helps us reach more people and continue sharing these incredible stories. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, it is Matt Hines. We are back with another outstanding Hines on Air. We've got another super fantastic guest, very knowledgeable in all areas of technology, especially even AI, what's evolved through the years and how AI is affecting businesses now with digital marketing and other applications. So I'm very pleased to announce Mr. Lynn Ward to the studio. Thank you very much, Lynn, for joining us.
Great, Matt. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, my friend. I appreciate you being here. All right, so you are the managing partner at Comexus, correct? That's your company?
Yep.
And what do y'all do there?
We're a digital marketing agency that was a
traditional, standard, full service digital marketing agency. But over the last couple of years, we have really gravitated
more towards implementing AI for our clients and implementing AI within our own campaigns.
When you say digital marketing, our firm has a digital marketing division. I assume Google and social media. But you just mean like Google marketing, correct?
Yeah, I mean all social media, Google. So your typical search, if you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, Google, TikTok, all of that stuff that we market on. So that is typically a full service agency. You kind of run ads on any of those platforms. So that is what we do. Although that is changing as we're preparing people to now be found when customers are using AI, using LLMs, large language models, and so forth, because the typical search and retrieve links opposed to solve my problem is changing marketing forever. It's never going to be the solution.
You said people's method of doing searches and clicking solve my problem, stuff like that. What do you mean by all that?
I think the way law firms, the way accounting firms, or anybody in business, if you have been relying on Google to drive your business via pay-per-click or SEO, within the next 18 months, you're going to start seeing a decelerating of leads, a decelerating of traffic. You probably already are seeing it. We've already passed the peak of what Google search was, and now how people get their answers, now how people retain an attorney, an accountant, whatever it may be, it's going to be coming via a question and search. Not question and search. I'm sorry, more of a solve my problem if you're on something like Perplexity.
You were describing, because this is interesting, like normally people will go onto Google and they will say, plumber, Marietta, Georgia, and they'll look for a plumber in that area. So you're saying people will now go onto Google or go onto whatever search engine and say, how do I fix a leaking faucet? Or how do I do a so-and-so? And from that, they'll get results.
Yeah, people are changing the way they think about yourself, think about how you ask a logical question, think about how you go to YouTube to solve your own problems. People are, they're always looking for you to solve a problem. And that's kind of the way things are now being looked for. I heard an interview from the Perplexity CEO this morning, and he was saying the average search on Perplexity, if nobody's ever used Perplexity, use it. It's a search engine built on top of an LLM. You will never use Google again. But he was saying how the amount of words that are being used on Perplexity are vastly larger than what's being used on Google. So people, they want you to solve, they want to know what their problem is, they want to know what the solution to their problem is, and then they want to have an idea of who's the best person to retain or company to solve their problem. And they want that done in about 1 to 2 questions. What people are moving away from is family lawyer near me that specializes in military forces, right? So they look at something like that. And it would go through Google and it would start reading a guy trying to identify a blog or trying to identify some piece of content that now relates to what they're looking for. You don't need to do that anymore. Your answers are going to come fast and furious. They're going to be right in front of you. And it's going to be a land rush as to what types of companies actually will get into those types of results and so forth. So the whole way you market, the whole way you build your entire advertising campaign is literally shifting right now.
All right, so Lynn, I was not aware of this big shift, to be honest, because our firm has actually put a lot of emphasis and research and time and money, Jesus, into marketing, digital marketing. And I had not heard this major shift away from just the standard Google searches into a more detailed question using AI and Perplexity and other things. What do you see that shows this shift sort of in the market?
So you're in the majority. You're not in the minority. So this is something that a lot of companies, they're not aware of it. They're some are, but they're not aware of it. And the problem is that, and I said this to Keith earlier when we got online. I'm like, a lot of people feel like the shift over to AI, large language models, is going to be the way the internet was, where it took us 20, 25 years. Let's call it the way it is. The internet from 1998, not most companies were online until COVID really kicked people in the backsides, like you got to get digitized.
Right.
That's when everybody kind of finally crossed over. You're not going to get 25 years this time. You're going to get 2, maybe 2.5 years. That's it. So think of the speed that the internet moved in that fast. And we all thought that was like lightning speed. Now imagine 2.5 years.
Right.
So there's a shift of people now, like when they go and they're looking for things, like the way they're asking Alexa a question, the way Apple Intelligence is now getting rolled into phones, which is really going to be the aha moment. People are like, wow, I can do a lot of stuff on my phone. And in a minute, you tell a client or you tell a friend or family member, hey, have you ever looked at Perplexity? And when they go look at it, the first text I get back when people talk to you about Perplexity is, I will never use Google again. Wow. It's solving a problem. Now, I've been in digital marketing for over 20 years. I like to say I grew up with the internet. I worked at Credit Suisse. I was in the institutional side of Wall Street. So we saw a lot of these companies go public. I saw all this rise, but I've never seen anything at the speed of what's happening right now. That's what's really concerning to me, because the minute you can go look for something and you get an answer right there, and the answer is fairly quick and it's fairly accurate, especially if you have a working knowledge of it. You say to yourself, why am I going to scroll through all this stuff? Like, why am I going to go look for 35 links to identify a blog or maybe a video that may or may not tell me what to do or what my answer is, when I have my answer? This is the type of case I have, or this is the type of accounting issue I have. This is the type of attorney or account I need. This is probably how much I should be paying. I'm going to reach out to this person here because they're the ones that the LLM or AI is pulling with a definitive answer, because they are putting links underneath there. So back to your original question, there's going to be a land rush in how do we get the clients to be the definitive answer? And I got some thoughts on that at another point, but that is where we are moving. We are shifting there. So not to keep rambling on, it's just I wouldn't put all my marketing dollars into AI right now, but I sure as heck will be allocating quite a bit of it to start exploring this road, because there's going to be the ones that have done it and they're going to move forward, and there'll be the ones that will say, we'll catch up, we'll let the train run a little bit. And I don't think they understand the size of the moat that law firms or companies are going to be able to put around that once AI really starts taking off. So the catch up is going to be very difficult.
Are you seeing the Google numbers drop?
Yes, they're telling you one thing, but you are beginning to see numbers pull back. Rand Fiskin, who I hold in very high regard, and he's one of the true knowledgeable people in SEO and digital marketing. I think he calls things the way they are. I like where he has been talking a lot about Google's zero-click attribution, where you're going to Google, they're trying to get you not to click on things. They're trying to get you to click on one of their products, which is pay-per-click. But for the very first time, you are beginning to see Google's numbers begin to pull back a little bit. And as companies like Perplexity grow, Search GPT, which is tremendous, as they grow, even Amazon search, if you play it on the Amazon search is amazing. Google has a problem, and then so my forecast is going to be Google's earnings are going to do really well probably for the next 18 months. You're going to see a lot of money being poured into pay-per-click, and that's because less and less people are putting money into SEO and certain sites of content because they just want their answer right away. As the bottom starts falling out on Google and they try to figure out search, which they'll figure something out, It's at that point that people who are relying so much on pay-per-click are going to realize the pool is getting smaller and smaller, and the audience has moved over to solve my problem. I don't want to read your blog about it.
Give me a typical like scenario. All right, let's say I need my alternator fixed in my car. What would the person who's going to utilize this new AI technology, what's that process? They go to Perplexity. What do they type it in?
They'll go to Perplexity and identify the alternator is definitely the problem. Like my companies make, what's the alternator do? Click, right? When your car is not going as what it is. So you got a clicking sound. Am I right on that?
That sounds right.
So I'm turning my car on and it's getting a clicking sound. What could that be? That's going to come in and say it's going to be the alternator. And great. I got a 2025 Durango. How much is that going to cost to replace that in the 2025 Durango? And it's going to tell you exactly how much it's going to cost. How long is that going to take? It's going to take you this. And then it's going to basically directly underneath that, it's going to identify all the places right next to a landing area, wherever you may be sat. And it's going to say, okay, these are the places you can go to. So you're going to have a highly educated consumer walking in the front door, and you are going to have them on their phone as lawyers and people are making conversations to that. And they're going to be checking. And they're going to literally listen to you. They're probably going to check this ballet, whether they think you're white or not. And your consumer, your potential client, not only educated, but a very, very different individual you're doing.
That's what I was thinking. I would think this is more of a younger generation too, right? Or no? You think the older generation can keep up with it? Because I don't even know that people follow.
I think I'm 52, and the only reason I even know this stuff is because I own a digital agency. If I didn't own a digital agency, I probably would know a little bit about this stuff. But I think that the generation directly behind me, what concerns you there, that's the buying generation. You get your 30s and 40s. These are the people with the money. These are the ones making the decisions. So they're going to expect your AI experience for your law firm or your company to meet exactly what they want. I mean, I could get very deep into it, but the one stage I'll tell you without kind of making everybody's head spin is it's not even just marketing to the client that a law firm has to do. You have to start thinking about how, with your phone and with your own internal chatbots, your AI chatbots and your AI GPTs are going to be marketing to their personal phones. So you're going to be having negotiations going on with the client's AI bot, your law firm AI bot, you, the client, not even going to be involved in that. They're going to be negotiating back and forth, and then they're going to come in and see if they want to maybe eventually potentially sit down with you because, within working their AIs, like, look, this is a good law firm for you. The money makes sense. This is probably who you want to hire. They have a lot of good experience in your divorce case and so forth. And they're like, okay, I feel good. That's where we're headed. Sounds crazy. That's where we're headed.
And you think that we're headed there in 2 years?
Or less.
Or less.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. I'll tell you, it is frustrating, though, when you got a bot that doesn't know how to get creative. I have there's a company that's helping us manage a property, and I will text very simple questions, and you get this, thank you, valued customer. That's a great question. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, come on, man. I never got helped. That never arrived at the specific answer I was looking for. So it sounds like, I don't know.
Well, that's already here. That's called an AI chatbot. We have them on our clients' websites now.
Yeah.
So you train the AI chatbot. So the AI chatbot, it's awesome. So it crawls the entire website, right? Everything you have. Then we build what's called a data room. Data room's a fancy term for Dropbox, Google Drive, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And then we plug these chatbots in there based on exactly what the person's looking for. So let's just say we have a client who a lot of customers come to them because they have repairs they need to make on certain types of machinery. So we have a data room that's created where it's every single manual that's ever been created for all of the products. And so long as you enter in the right question, like 9 out of 10 times, that chatbot's going to interact with the individual and solve the problem. So with you, it's like so you would train the chatbot on specifically what you're looking for, make sure the content's in the data room, and then it will interact with you. And if needed, you can then have it drop out, go to ChatGPT, go to Claude, extract more information, and really kind of give them the right answer they're looking for. So what you're talking about has arrived. There's just a lot of training behind it, but you can implement that today.
Yeah. No, it was there. It's just it hadn't been developed yet. It was more of a frustrating experience than it was a complete, thorough satisfied experience. I kept demanding. I was like, look, I need a person, and I would get, thank you for your question, valued customer. I'm like, shut the hell up. Yeah.
And that's one of the things we do. We actually go back in and we train these things.
Yeah.
You have to train these things. You have to teach them. They're like an employee. And then after about 45 to 90 days of all things being equal, and so long as we're able to feed in like customer information to keep them like relevant, you should be good to go. But you're not alone. Some of these AI bots are not ready. I only feel like there's 4 or 5 companies out there, I think, that actually create a really, really good bot that I would say, hey, put it on a client website.
Okay. All right. So let's go along this same subject of AI. Our firm, about a year and a half ago, got introduced to some AI technology, and we made this big concerted effort that, all right, we are going to be on the cutting edge of this. We're going to stay ahead. AI is not going to replace people, but people using AI are going to replace those who aren't using AI. So we wanted to be ahead of the game. And what I found was this mountain. I mean, so much information, so many options. I had no idea where to start. We actually hired a consultant to help us identify where can our practice benefit from AI. Like where are we weak? Where can we use it? That still didn't really help, to be honest. It didn't do anything. And I just found it difficult getting started. We've done a few things, but it was hard to find out how do you go about taking advantage of this new technology. And I know that's where you are an expert. So, small, medium-sized company who's not really using it, what do we do first?
So I'm going to just come back to one statement you said about the famous statement that everybody loves to use, and they do, is AI is not going to replace people. It's going to replace the people not using AI.
Yeah.
To be very, very clear, AI is going to replace a lot of people. It's going to take away a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
And I do think at some point the government, wherever people think of it, is going to need to step in and be prepared for something like this. I'm not all the way along the lines of Elon Musk, who believes we need to start talking about, global pay, and I forget what he calls it, and all jobs are gone, maybe somewhere down the road. But I do believe this is going to dramatically impact certain jobs, and I think people need to be prepared for that because it's coming. The greatest fear I tell people all the time, they're like, well, the economy's okay, it's doing this, or whatever you think about the economy. I was like, take away the numbers for a minute. I was like, imagine an economy where you wake up in the next 18 months and people are losing their jobs over and over, and it's not because the company's doing bad, it's because they've replaced you with AI. I'm like, that's a real thing that's going to happen. So companies get to a point, it's like, hey, maybe our revenue didn't grow, but our profitability grew because we got rid of a bunch of people. Makes sense? So I won't get too deep into that conversation, but I think that that's something companies need to be prepared for. I think it's something that they need to start thinking about, and how you're going to handle that with people, and how you're going to handle this. Like, do you move to different roles? Like, what's going to happen? So just food for thought.
No, I think I parried off that line without giving it too much thought. You're correct. I agree with you. Even the chat bots that you and I discussed, that replaced somebody. That was a human last year. So I'm with you. Yep.
Yeah, it's scary. I mean, Klarna is the one that I just can't believe this didn't make headline news, although it did in the investment community. Well, Klarna said something like their chatbots were able to handle upwards of 700. I think it was 700 people in a call center. And the Klarna CEO, and so you have to read the story to get the finish, because it might be a little off here. Klarna said, he's like, we're basically going to lay these people off. Why would we keep these people here when I have technology that can help that? So when a major company like Klarna is telling you we're going to lay off however many people because technology's replaced them, that should be a flag right away. Like, we got a problem on our hands.
What company are you saying? Which one?
Klarna. That Klarna's, I think, that buy now, pay later. Anybody you want to listen to the podcast, you can research it. Go to Klarna, go to earnings, and go to call center. You'll see it. Just type in Klarna AI or Klarna call center. And I mean, he came right in and laid it right out. And some people hailed it as rude. Other people hailed it as, you're going to hear this conversation almost or sort of worry.
Yeah. Yeah. No, understood. Yeah.
So how a company starts, the fastest way I can tell a company to start right now goes back to the data rows. What you need to do is any piece of offline content that you've ever had, if it's digitized, And if it's not, try to get it digitized. There's a lot of companies that do that. You want to start making sure that you have that organized.
I'm sorry, Lee, just to make sure we're on the same page. When you say we got to make sure that information is digitized, you mean just saved electronically? What do you mean by digitized? Yeah, okay.
No, simply it's online. So,
All right, got it.
So in other words, every and all document that may not be online, that maybe you've had in a folder or whatever, or maybe it's in like your own computer, but it's not online, start getting that into a secure Dropbox room, Google Drive, or whatever your IT company would recommend. So we think Dropbox is the simplest way to go. Start getting all of your information in there. Break it up a little bit. Break it up by maybe past clients. Well, that's a little dicey, but information, whatever it may be. Break your company up and say, if I had to break my company up into different rooms, this is what it is. If you're an accounting, like, okay, here's all past customers, number one. Number two, here's all of our inventory. Number three, like, here's our past marketing efforts. They have all of that in there that maybe you never did have that in one spot. Identify somebody to work on that and say, we're going to go through all the files and we're going to start organizing it. Because once you have that, that's the quickest way for these AI bots or AI and LLMs to be able to plug in and to start reading that data and then start crushing that data and then help you make decisions. So that's where it all starts. The oil of AI is going to be content. The content, and everybody keeps, one of the buzzwords you hear right now is, well, they're running out of content. Maybe online they're running out of content, but think about, there might be triple the amount of content sitting in people's computers and offline that have not even never made their way to the internet. So make sure you have all of that ready. That your consultant should say that first thing. Let's get all that ready. Let's organize it. And then let's identify, the second step would be, let's identify all the processes we have in our law firm, in our accounting firm, or our accounting shop, whatever it may be. What are our processes? Let's organize them. And then let's start testing these processes through an LLM. What can LLM help us automate?
Tell me again, what does LLM mean again?
Large language model. So that's ChatGPT.
That's ChatGPT.
AI is the industry. LLM is one of the products in there, and that's ChatGPT. That's Anthropic. That's all that is.
Got it.
So then you start looking at, so you have all your data rooms, all that's ready to go. You can plug in, you can build a bridge in the chat from ChatGPT into there. A lot of these live chat bots, you can plug right in real easy. They can pull your information, talk to customers. So you have all that. The next step is definitely go through the processes. Like, let's identify a process for running a last will testament, right? Let's take a look at that.
Yep.
And identify how long that takes, who's doing it, and so forth. Is there any foundational pieces that you always have to have in a last will test? Of course there are, right? So then what happens is, once you have your processes in place, then you go in and say, all right, let's build what's called custom GPTs, which are not that hard to build. That's ChatGPT.
Right.
Go in and build something that's going to automate the creation of a last will and testament. So somebody at your office would sit down, an attorney, and they would type things into a ChatGPT. The client is this is what they want. These are all my notes. Maybe even just upload all the notes if you were recording the meeting with the clients. And it goes in, and that LLM will create the last will and testament for you that you will then have to edit, as an attorney has to sign all promises you're handing it out. And then think about what you just said. This would create that last will and testament for you. 30 seconds?
Right.
45 seconds?
Right.
All clear. And that's all done by, all meetings now are recorded. No matter what we do, we take that transcript, we upload it to our custom GPT. Out comes the last will and testament. It then goes on the attorney's desk for review. Then the package gets, tell the client to commit to all their signatures and so forth. If that makes sense. So that's kind of where I like clients to go. Is like, okay, get all your data rooms so we can plug in all the AI tools that are possible for you. Then let's go through the processes. Let's identify what these things could do to save you time, save you money, and get a result quicker. And if you're just doing that to start, you've officially started moving into the AI world. That's where you want to do it. Those are two really, really important things. Right now, people are using ChatGPT to write a blog post. That's great, and it can do that. But there's so much more. Way more than just that. And hopefully I'll give you an answer.
No, it absolutely does, and I appreciate that. Just from my own clarification and for the audience who's not as familiar with the way AI, we've all heard the term or the abbreviation, but when ChatGPT, when you ask, I don't know, we talk about how do we fix an alternator? Yes, that's a ChatGPT. Where ChatGPT gets that answer is it goes onto the World Wide Web, the internet, and starts looking at every blog, every post, every instruction manual, everything. It is able to somehow glean from that a response to then give to you. Is that correct?
That's correct. So, and now there's going to be people who know way more about AI than me and may watch this podcast and say, you might be a little off on that, but I think I'm pretty close when I say this. So basically it's called tokens. Words are tokens. They're not really a word. Okay. So one of the quickest ways like to tell clients is what AI does is if I type in Mary had a, what's going to happen is, and then I go to AI and say, what's next? It's going to basically aggregate and break down every single piece of data that it can get its hands on. And it's going to try to find the solution to say, based on everything we have, if somebody online is asking for Mary had a, it's going to come in and say little lamb. It's going to say all of our data says that's what it has to be. So it's a tokenized process where if you're asking a question, it aggregates all the data it possibly can, and it tries to identify what's right, what's wrong. Okay. What happens with that sometimes is it will come back and maybe give you that's other hallucination. A lot of times people may run into an LLM, ChatGPT, Anthropic, Claude, and they run and they ask it a question and they had never trained these things at all. So sometimes you have to train it a little bit to say, hey, right, I own a Dodge Durango. My car's clicking. What can you tell me about clicking noises in a car that's going to go out and learn? So if you teach it a little bit, opposed to just cold going in, you'll realize your responses you're getting back are better and better and better. The goal of ChatGPT, Claude, and the rest of them is that you don't even need to train these things. They're smarter than you, which a lot of people think this version that they're holding back is vastly more intelligent than humans. So it's already reached that point. There's a thing called prompting and making sure you're prompting it the right way, asking the right questions to get to the right answer. So a long-winded response. Yes, that is what it does. It crawls every single solitary piece of data it can, or it taps into one of your data rooms. Right. If you're a mechanic, you have all that there, and it pulls that data as like, this is the answer. But yes, that is a long-winded answer. That is how it arrives at the answer.
And if my law firm, let's say I don't think I have enough files in my system, digitized files, to give it enough raw data to create a good response, I can then link up other databases that can give it more of a wealth of data to depend on and look at.
Yeah, it depends on what you want to give it access to. So you would have to have access to the other quote-unquote data rooms.
Right, of course.
You have to have access to that. You could also pull other custom GPTs. So there's a way in which you can talk on ChatGPT and it's do the @ sign, and then you see any GPT that you've ever built or that's out there. You can then pull one of them, and it can kind of start helping you get to the answers. But yes,
okay,
you can plug in a million different ways.
All right, now let me jump to digital marketing. So, excuse me. I know one of the things that increases the visibility of a website or makes Google react better to the thing is blog posts, the amount of new content created, the blah, 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 blah. And I would think AI could sit there and create, hell, I don't know, unlimited number of new pages every day or every week that would make your website look like the most thriving place on the internet. Is that what's happening now?
Yeah. So what's happening is that they still need the content. So this is where I kind of diverge from what a lot of people think, where like writers and creative concept people are all done. I don't think they're done, because I still think if the human mind can come up with a creative concept, and it comes up with a creative idea, and it kind of puts that into the ChatGPT, we'll just stick with that for just to focus on one model. I think that's when you really see amazing content come out.
Okay.
Now, could you just have it write on its own? Yes, you could. And a lot of it's very, very good. But sometimes we actually have that creative vision to say, hey, here's kind of the angle I'm thinking about. I don't care what type of bot we have coming down the road. That's very tough to replace that from a human aspect.
Is it so? I'm sorry. Is it important though? I mean, does Google look at the quality of the writing versus just the amount of it?
Well, Google, I think right now, Google. You told us, sir, how does Google rank? How do websites rank on Google? Would that be more of a question?
Yes, like the SEO response when you're trying to get your website on page 1. if you got an AI bot sitting there writing a new page, just say every day, or you have a writer who's gifted in his words and verbiage and stuff, if his quality is better than that bot putting out one, but he gets out one a week, wouldn't the bot putting out one a day be ranked higher than the author who's creatively writing only one per week? Or not?
The way Google writes a website is that you have the search intent, right? And like Google will mix and mash. I'm going to get a little deep technical here in a minute. They'll mix and mash your results up. If you type in alternator repair near me or alternator repair steps, and if Google presents your website, and people go on your website and they stay on your website, they fill out a contact form, maybe they actually bookmark your site or went deeper into your site, that's the number one way which you're going to rank for Google. The trick to rank for Google that people don't understand, and this is old school, is you got to pay-per-click that stuff. You got to have Google see that stuff. So that stuff's really good. Pay-per-click it. Pay $20, $25 and have somebody, and if Google, and somebody goes on there, Google's going to look at it organically and say, okay, all right, this is what we're going to do. And then your rankings will start pulling up. So it's not necessarily about how much content you're creating. It's the type of content, are you solving a problem? That is Google's goal. So I think the days of, we're already at the end right now, in my personal opinion, are people who are just creating content to rank for SEO. If you're not running a pay-per-click campaign on top of the other content you're trying to SEO, you're not ranking. You're not ranking at all. Like we had so many cases where we've stopped pay-per-click, right? And clients ranked well SEO-wise, and we saw their SEO traffic completely tank. So Google coming in and saying that that's not a correlation, I don't know if it's by their own doing, but to me, if you're not running pay-per-click in SEO, it's really for naught. But, so I do think that is coming, kind of that whole way we're doing things is coming to an end. I will say this, continue to create content, continue to build that content up, and continue to put it in your data room. Because here's what's going to happen. When Perplexity starts their pay-per-click campaign, which they're starting soon, they're actually going to be posing questions to people. And they're going to connect to your data room. And if your data room actually properly answers the question, they're going to allow you to pay-per-click that answer. That's how their pay-per-click's going to work, which I thought was fascinating. Which means now is the time to really understand your processes, how you solve problems, and get that stuff in there. Because if you get it in there, and you go to Perplexity and say, hey, we want to advertise Perplexity. Like, all right, we're going to plug it in. You know what? You're now one of the candidates to go to pay-per-click. That small little thing your digital agency should be preparing for. So it's that type of content they have to do. But that constantly creating content is going to be mandatory, not only for SEO, but it's also mandatory for AI. But here's the curveball. The curveball is that many people believe the GPTs are going to be able to train another GPT to create new type of content. So you're going to have an automated GPT that's custom built for your law firm, knows your law firm, knows all the personas, knows everything about you. It actually thinks it's a lawyer, and it thinks it's the best lawyer there. That's going to be training a GPT next to it saying, here's the kind of content I want. And it's called synthetic content.
Yeah.
And apparently some people believe that content is going to be tremendous, and that's what's going to catapult this to a whole different level. People are testing that out now. I'll be very interested to see where we are a year from now. It's called synthetic content. Humans are creating it. GPTs are creating it. And that right there throws me for a loop. I'm so like, wow, okay, where are we looking at here?
Well, see, that's where I was going earlier. Like, if, we've had like 11 different website companies. And they all say, all right, man, we're going to go in and we're going to recreate the website and we're going to start making more pages of blah, 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 and do all that. But to me, it would be easy for ChatGPT to just go in there and write 50 pages a day, just just constantly. I guess that's the synthetic data that you're talking about.
Yeah, we're already in the I'll tell you a step further, kind of from the synthetic data, because you just made a good point about creating pages. We're even in the process of trying to figure out. Hopefully, there's some steal idea. It could do it great. Let's make doing it. Websites are done shortly. Like we do believe websites in the manner you see a website won't look the same way. I think by the end of next year, the first just pure AI chatbot websites are going to emerge. And you're going to go to, johnsmechanicshop.com, and it's going to be an interactive chatbot that's going to pull up images, pull up content based upon what you're looking for. The days of building out a navigation and make sure your hamburger, you have to go to your hamburger all the way down, and we have to have We do all these areas of practice. We have to have this and all 5,000 goddamn areas of practice. Like that's all coming to an end. People are going to go to their website and they're going to be like, boom, boom, boom. And that's how people are going to be like, well, how are people going to find my website? That's why I'll go to another thing. You better start investing in your brand, doing podcasts, really doing TikTok. So get out of the mentality of they're going to search and find us. You have to build your brand and you've got to build your content and be ready for what's coming, because the companies that fully embrace AI to realize, hey, my website is not going to be this beautiful website. It's going to be like a chatbot that people are talking to. That's the new world we're in. And that's where we're headed in 2 years. And the foundation of that is content. But is that content human generated or human assisted guided, or is it going to be the synthetic content? And I think that's the question that nobody really has the answer to yet. I think it's going to be both.
Yeah, right. All right. So if somebody's going to utilize AI to improve digital marketing, you're saying that would involve the creation of this database where search terms and specific worded inquiries could go find the answers and then give you spit out the response about your law firm. That makes sense or not? If I hit it right, like so, if you're advising my law firm on utilizing AI to improve our digital sales numbers, to get more leads, to get more clients, digital sales, how would you say we utilize AI to do that? And I apologize.
I would use it. Great. No, that's fine. That's a good question. We haven't touched on it. I would utilize AI to harvest and crunch all the data of all past campaigns of those 11 marketing firms you had. I'd say, get me every report you had, get me every version of the website. We go back to the Wayback Machine. I would rebuild every single thing I could on the history of your website with leads. And I would create a custom GPT, which is what we do. And we would then crunch that data. And then I would come in and say, I want you to create a strategy for me going forward. I want you to tell me the content I want. I want you to tell me the highs, the lows. I want you to tell me about missed opportunities, maybe that we spent too much money on, and so forth. And I would create, we actually call it the marketing brain. We actually create what's called a marketing brain GPT. And it harvests all that information for you. And that's what it does. And it literally builds out a strategy. It builds out, this is what your content should be. And then it goes in and it creates a series of tasks. It's like, okay, this is what your marketing team must implement. And that's kind of that's what we do. But for AI, for marketing, the most valuable thing you can do is not writing blogs. It's interpreting all past and current data to potentially try to give you some sort of forecast as to where your marketing dollars should go. That's the true power of AI.
That sounds brilliant. But what I wonder, how does the AI know of a lost opportunity you've passed? Like, I wouldn't know, Matt, you got a call this person wanted help with an arrest in Coweta County. How would it? Anyway.
I think that's going very granular, and that's not a bad thought. I think if you built the data the right way, I think you could get that granular. But I think it might be like, hey, Matt, you really missed an opportunity, in these pockets of Georgia where we take, if you go and look at the historical records, there's a lot of speeding tickets here. There's a lot of like reckless driving. You're not really putting any marketing there. Have you ever thought about maybe moving your advertising dollars over there? That's the type of stuff where we'll look at historical trends where you allocated your marketing dollars and say, you might want to do that. Now, I will say this, that takes an extraordinary amount of training. But once you have the training done and once you're close, the results are truly amazing. It comes down to something our law firm has said, we have said to law firms every time we've marketed with them. I've marketed a lot of law firms in the past. It comes down to, are you ready to spend money?
That seems to be it. And are you willing to lose money? Because we have lost so damn much money on trying to find the right solution.
Well, it's funny because I sit down with clients and I get it. No, but I sit down with clients and I'm like, and the first thing they say is, well, I'm looking to go less on pay-per-click. And I'm like, Google's earnings last quarter was $53 billion. I'm like, do you think they're getting the $60 billion by us getting your pay-per-click cheaper? I'm like, the whole system is rigged against you to get to the $60 billion a quarter. Yeah, and when the law firms get that, and I do work with a lot of intelligent attorneys who are like, hey, it makes a lot of sense. I'm like, and then it comes back to, we have for every dollar you put in, did you get $3 back kind of thing? Like, no, I'm not just talking that, I'm talking everything. And then when they start understanding that, it's better. And that's all the other stuff that we build on the GPTs as well. That's we go in and understand your ROI. That's another thing that's great for AI. Really understand where you're, if maybe we have too much money going towards Facebook or we should have money over to TikTok. It's going to tell us that type of stuff. The asset allocation and forward thinking, I think, is probably the most underutilized component of ChatGPT opposed to just running a blog.
Interesting. Okay. All right, I got one little question. Then we're going to wrap up. I'm getting some notices to feed. I know you've got a type person too. What? And I know you're probably done with this question. Let me add that. People hear AI. People think Terminator. People think Skynet and all that crap. What do you think AI can get so intelligent that it can start running away and think on its own and sort of surpass its creator?
I'm kind of starting to go into the camp where what was the last thing I just saw? AI aced the bar exam, got some of the highest scores on medical exams. So the intelligence, I think, who we forward? Humans are dumb. So we are. I do think the intelligence from a pure analytical standpoint, if it does not surpass us, it's going to surpass us within the next year or two. I do believe that. I guess
the question, though, would it be, can it have its own original thought versus reactively responding? Like, if I give it a bar test or a bar exam, it can respond to that. But on its own, sitting there in cyberspace, whatever, will it have the notion, you know what? I think I'm going to take over. Sorry. Whatever. It had its own impulse.
I think it could get there. I know that if you look at the new Miles 01, which is on ChatGPT now, that's rationalizing. So it's trying to rationalize an answer. I think that's the beginning of it. I think what's going to happen, it's going to be basically, and I'm trying to visualize what that would look like without sounding like a lunatic. I believe it's going to be a series of programs that are just constantly running through different types of equations and mathematical equations and answers and content, and things are going to pop up and it's going to act on those things. Like, I think like it's good that what's going to be like something that's derived from its analytical data. I do believe it's funny because every single time I hear like great minds speak about it, the one thing I do hear people talk about is that we need to have the ability to pull the plug. And I do believe we're going to keep that in hand. So this won't be the Terminator type situation. I believe ultimately, I do believe someone like the U.S. government will have maybe even our military will be like, we're able to pull the plug on that right now. Like we have almost like the nuclear codes. You have to wonder at some point, maybe they have the AI codes right next to them and AI cannot get in there.
That's right. That's the big, can the AI figure out how to avoid the plug?
I think it could be one of those literally old school. I would not be surprised if it was almost unplugged it, pull this out of the.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. I do get a little concerned about what's going forward. And the last thing I would say is the reason I get a little concerned is because some people I talk to have really went in and have really done a lot with AI. And I'm like, okay, you get it. And then there's some people who don't. And I'm like, I don't think you understand where we are even right now. And they're like, well, it's kind of good for this. I'm like, I don't think you get it. And then when I try to tell people, I'm like, go look at this and this. And when they're like, and they come back and they're looking, I'm like, here's the best part. I'm like, I'm probably one of the dumbest guys in AI. You talk to some of these people in AI and what they're telling you, this whole world is going to look completely different in 2 years.
Yeah, I would agree. I'll make it quick, man. This was fascinating. Another gentleman, brave professor for Georgia Tech, was on. He studied a lot about AI. And he gave me an example. He said, you know one of those CAPTCHAs? The thing is like when you try to log on to a site, it'll ask you. Yeah, gotcha. Okay, all right. So, what was they asked the AI to solve the CAPTCHA. All right, so that was the instructions to the AI. And the AI went to the CAPTCHA, couldn't do it for whatever reason. So the AI then went onto this website where you can hire people to do menial tasks, simple tasks. And the AI tried to employ a live human being to go and solve the CAPTCHA for it. And then when the human being said, wait a minute, were you a bot? The AI responded, I'm just visually impaired. I can't solve this. And that was it. But that blew me away. I mean,
Bro.
that was it was responding and thinking and coming up with really clever responses. It's crazy. That's
an agent.
That's called an agent. That's the next horizon is agent. It does the work for you. So that's the last thing I'll tell you on marketing. To buff and on what that professor said is, so you get these GPTs that come all the way out and they give you all the tasks. So you have an entire marketing team with all the tasks. You know what's next? Like right around the corner, it's going to implement all the tasks. What the hell happens to all the people in marketing? Not all going to go. There's plenty of space for marketing people. Don't quit your job. Nothing like that. But that's you tell me that story. Yeah, that's
crazy. Yeah, crazy. All right, but from listen, Lynn, this has been a fascinating discussion. Let me real quick. If someone wants to take advantage of your services or your company, which I'm going to call you soon after this interview, how could they contact you or your company?
They can just go to commexis.com, COMMEXIS.com. They can take a look, fill out a form, and you speak to me. You actually speak to me personally. So I'm the one that actually walks you through it.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, Lynn, thank you so much for your time. Very good discussion.
Great. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, everybody. Well, listen, thank you very much for joining us. It's been another Hines on Air. If you haven't, please click the subscribe button, like our show. If you had any comments or questions about what we'll be talking about, please feel free to post those. Otherwise, I will see you next time.
Hines on Air is for you. Remember to subscribe, like, and leave a review whenever you listen to podcasts. Your support helps us reach more people and continue sharing these incredible stories.